Let's try to solve this problem. Simplify the following. Let's start with 1. Negative x squared times 3xy squared times 4y to the 4th. So, we are applying here the laws of exponents. So, first, we multiply the coefficients of each of the terms. So, we have negative x squared, so it means it has an invisible coefficient of negative 1. So, we have negative 1 times 3 times 4 or negative 12. And let's multiply the literal factors, those variables that are the same. So, we can have x squared times x. So, here we can apply the law of exponent. X raised to m times x raised to n is equal to x raised to m plus n. So when we're multiplying power of the same base, we simply copy the same base and add the exponents. So doing the same with this problem, we have x squared times x. By the way, this x has an invisible exponent of 1. We can just copy the same base x and then add the exponents 2 plus 1. So we have x raised to 2 plus 1 or x raised to the third. So therefore, x squared times x is equal to x raised to the third. Finally, doing the same with variable y, we can multiply y squared times y to the fourth. So again, applying this law of exponent, copy the same base y, and then add the exponent of 2 plus 4. So y raised to 2 plus 4 or y raised to the sixth. So therefore, I can simplify y squared times y to the fourth as simply y to the sixth. So the final answer is negative 12x cubed y to the sixth. Next we have 4x squared y cubed quantity squared times 2xy squared z squared. So for the first term, we can apply the law of exponent. Xy quantity raised to m is equal to x raised to m times y raised to n. So basically, we can distribute the exponent of 2 to every factor in the term. So doing that, we can have 4 squared times x squared squared times y cubed squared. Okay, then times 2xy squared z squared. And then we can apply next the law of exponent of x raised to m quantity raised to n is equal to x raised to mn. So basically, if we have an exponential expression being raised to another exponent, we can copy the same base x and just multiply the exponents. So we can apply this law of exponent for these two factors. So we simplify first 4 squared or 4 times 4 is 16. Then, simplifying x squared quantity squared. So copy the same base x and multiply the exponents. 2 times 2 is 4. Then, y cubed squared, so copy the same base y, multiply the exponent, 3 times 2 is 6. Then, multiply by 2xy squared, z squared. So, we can multiply first the constant, so 16 times 2 is 32. And then, applying the law of exponent that we have on the first problem, we can multiply those factors that have the same base, so we can multiply x to the 4th times x. We copy the same base x and then add the exponent of 4 plus, so this x has an invisible exponent of 1, so we simply add 4 plus 1. Simplifying x raised to 4 plus 1 or x raised to the 5th. Then for the y to the 6 times y squared, just copy the same base y and add their exponents of 6 plus 2. So y to the 6 plus 2 or y to the 8. Finally, we can just copy z squared because it's just a unique factor. So the final answer is 32x to the 5th y to the 8 z squared. Next, let's have negative 3 abc squared quantity squared times negative a squared b quantity raised to the 3rd times negative 5 abc. So again, we distribute the exponent to every factor. So we have negative 3 squared, a squared, b squared, c squared quantity squared. Again, doing the same here, you can distribute the exponent of 3. So by the way, in this negative a squared b, this negative is considered as a coefficient of negative 1. So therefore, you will include that in the exponent of 3 when you distribute it. So you will have negative 1 raised to the 3rd, a squared raised to the 3rd, b cubed. Then times negative 5 abc. So simplify, so you have negative 3 squared is negative 3 times negative 3 or 9. Then a squared b squared. Next, c squared, quantity squared. So copy the same base c and then just multiply the exponent. 2 times 2 is 4. Next, negative 1 cubed. So it's negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1. Still negative 1. Then a squared cube, multiply again the exponent. It's a raised to 2 times 3 or 6. Then b cubed times negative 5abc. So we can multiply first the constant. So we have 9 times negative 1 times negative 5. So 9 times negative 1 first is negative 9. Then times negative 5, it will be positive 45. Then, for the variables, so apply the law of exponent. Let's multiply first a squared times a to the 6th and a to the 1st. So that will be a raised to, so add the exponents, 2 plus 6 plus 1. So 2 plus 6 plus 1, it's positive 9. So we have a raised to the 9th power. Then for the b, we can multiply b squared times b cubed times b to the 1st. Applying the law of exponent, copy the same base b and add the exponents of 2 plus 3 plus 1. So 2 plus 3 plus 1 is 6. So we have b to the 6th. Finally, for the factor c, we can multiply c squared times c to the 1st. So copy the same base c and add the exponent of 4 plus 1. So we have c raised to 4 plus 1 or c raised to the 5th power. So therefore, this is the final answer. 45, a to the 9th, b to the 6th, c to the 5th. Now as a practice, you can try solving these problems and just comment your answers.